I have my tickets webpage open on the left and I'm debugging on the right. First thing I'll do is insert a nav element with the ID mobile menu. I'll go to the index file and copy the link and script elements needed for the mobile menu. And I will paste those where needed in the tickets file. Next, I'll go to the styles folder, press Alt Insert to insert a new style sheet. I'll name it tickets.css. Close my project window. In the tickets HTML file, I will insert a link to that new style sheet. I will use this to style the form I'm going to create. The exercise in the textbook has you open an existing form and modify it. I thought it would be more effective and better for your assignment if I started from scratch. So in the section element, I will insert an H1 element or heading for order form. Then I will create a form element with the action set to register_account.html. That's a file I'm going to add. This is where the user will go after they submit the form. I'll paste that in the root of my directory. I will set method equals get. That will put the information in the URL when the form is submitted. And I will also give it a name and ID of registration form. I will create a field set element with a legend element set to member information. Next, I will include a label for an email field. That field is going to be an input with the type equals email, a name, and ID of email. I'll use autofocus so the cursor starts in that text box when the user visits the page. Below that, I will include a label for a first underscore name field. For the input element for that, I will set it type equals text, name and ID equals first name. I'll go back up and include a line break after the email input, so the label and text box will appear on the next line. Following that, I'm going to use this same process. I'll have a label for a last name field. Notice how last name is in red right now when it's not associated with the form element. Once I create a form element with that ID, it goes away. I'm also using the required attribute for all of those text boxes. That means the user cannot submit the form without having some sort of entry in those text boxes. I'll include a label for a field named address. I won't make that required, that'll be optional. Below that, I will include a label for an element named city. Again, that's going to be an input element with a type set to text with a name and ID of city. We'll make that required. I'll include a label for a state input element. Most text boxes will have the type of text unless there are special text boxes like email, or there's also a telephone that I will use here shortly. I'll include a label for an input element named zip. I will come back to these fields, or some of them, and insert some HTML5 validation attributes that help to ensure that the form is filled out correctly. And the label for the phone or phone number, the input element type for that is going to be TEL for telephone. Next, I will go to my ticket style sheet and start entering styles to make my form look a little better. I'll include a comment at the top, and for the field set element, I'll set the bottom margin to 0.5 EM and the padding to 0.5 EM on the top and bottom, and 1 on the left and right. For the legend, I will change the font weight to bold, font size to 85% to make it a little bit smaller, and I'll set the padding bottom to 0.5 EM. For label, input, and select elements, I will set the font size to 90% to make them a little bit smaller. For the label element, I want to float that to the left and set a width of 10 EM. Notice how that helps the form look a lot neater already. I'll set the text align property of the label to right. And for input and select elements, I'll set the width to 15 EM, margin left to 0.5 EM, and a margin bottom 2.5 EM to spread those text boxes out a little bit. I'll include a style for input with 2 colons required, input with required in square brackets, and input invalid. I will set up a border. It's 2 pixels wide, solid, and that dark red color we've been using. Below that, I will include a style for input valid. That's just going to be a 1 pixel solid black border. And below that, input invalid. We will have a box shadow set to none. You'll be able to see how these look differently as I fill in information in the form. I'll also include clear both for the line break. I will add more to the form, but in order to do some testing, I'll add another field set with the ID of buttons. The legend for that will be submit your order. I will include a label that's empty with a non-breaking space just for making it look neat to have my buttons align with my other input elements. I will set up an input type of submit, value submit, and then input type equals reset for reset button with reset fields. Notice how those are pretty wide and they aren't on the same line. I will return to my style sheet, and for the input elements in the button's ID, I'll set the width to 10 EM. That'll make the buttons look a little bit neater and appear on the same line. When I click submit on the right, it looks like it's not using those validation attributes I entered, so I'll go back and refresh maybe a couple times so my form comes back. You can see that the required fields have a slightly larger border than the address and the phone number that are not required. And when I click submit, it says please fill out this field. That's because of the required attribute that I added. After I have an email address entered that is a valid email format, notice how the darker border goes away. Same for the other required fields. When I enter information into them that's valid and satisfies the HTML validation requirements, those darker borders go away. And when I click submit, it submits successfully and I see all of that information that I entered. I'll go ahead and refresh to clear that out. I'm going to add some more attributes for the state. I will put a max length of 2 and a placeholder of 2 character code. The placeholder shows in the background and will go away as soon as the user starts typing in that text box. And for the zip, I will include a placeholder. I'm also going to include a pattern where the zip code can be either 5 digits or it can be 5 digits, a hyphen, and 4 digits. You can copy that carefully, and then I'll also include a title attribute. That's going to be the error message that will display if I don't follow that pattern. For the telephone, I will include a placeholder and a pattern where I want 3 digits, a hyphen, 3 digits, another hyphen, and then 4 digits. And again, I'll set the title so I have an error message that displays if I don't follow that format. I'll go back to the form and enter information again, email address, first name, last name, city. When I get to state, if I try to type South Dakota, it will only let me type 2 characters. I'll put 1 for both the zip code and phone number. It doesn't work. Even if I have 4 digits, it doesn't work, and it shows the error message in the title. And I get the title error message and the phone number as I'm typing. If I fulfill all the requirements of the form validation attributes, it will submit successfully. I will include another field set with the legend ordering information. I will have a label for order underscore type with the text order type. This is going to be a select element or a drop-down list. I will give the select element a name and ID of order type. Inside the select element, I will include option elements. The first one with the value of M for member package. The second one will have a value of D for donor package. And a third option with a value of S for single tickets. I'll include a line break after that. I will insert another label for tickets underscore number. This will be the number of tickets. This will be an input element with type of text, where a user can type in the number of tickets they would like. I'll include placeholder text of number of single tickets and a line break. Below that, I will include another field set with an ID of radio. I'll use radio buttons. The legend for the field set will be payment method. I'll include an input element with a type set to radio, the name set to payment type. Whenever you have radio buttons and you want them to act as a group, all of the radio buttons in that group should have the same name. That way when you click on one, it'll automatically unselect all of the others. So the name will be payment type and the ID will be bill. Below that, I will include another label for bill or bill me with the text type set to radio, same name of payment type, and an ID and value of credit. And I will include a label after that for that second radio button. In the style sheet, I want to change the label elements in that radio ID to float none, and I will change the input elements in the radio ID to a width of auto, and I'll give a left margin of 3 em to get those radio buttons and their labels to look a little bit neater. Below the payment method, I will insert another field set with the legend of credit card information. I'll include a label for the card type. This will be another select element with the name of card underscore type. Same for the ID. For the first option, I'll set the value equal to Visa with the text of the option element to Visa. Next, I'll use option value equals MasterCard for MasterCard. And one more option value equals Discover for Discover card. I'll include a line break after the select element. I'll include a label for the card number. This will be an input with the type set to text. It'll be a text box where the user can type in their credit card number. So the name and ID will be credit card number. We'll make this required and set the pattern equal to 16 digits. In reality, a credit card number has many different validation rules that it has to satisfy in order to be a valid credit card number. We won't worry about that here. Below that, we will insert a label with the for attribute set to exp underscore month for the expiration date. I'll include a select element with name and ID of exp underscore month. And then I will start including option values for each of the months. The first one will be value equals 1 for January. The second option will be value equals 2 for February, 3 for March, 4 for April, and so on until I have all of the 12 months listed. Once I'm done with all the months, I'm going to include another drop-down list or select element for years. And because I don't really have room for a label to associate with that, and all form elements should have labels, I will create a label with the style set to display none, so it will have a label for that drop-down element, but the user won't see it. That will satisfy rules for accessibility, because if somebody used screen reading software, they would still see that or listen to that label without actually seeing it on the screen. So I create the select with the name exp underscore year and the same ID. I'll do 2019 through 2023, and the select is highlighted. That's because there isn't currently a label associated with that form element. But again, I'm going to go add that and set display equal none so it doesn't actually show up on the screen. After I've done that, I want to adjust the widths of both of those drop-down lists or select elements so they're side by side. So we'll go to the style sheet, and for exp month, I will set that width to 70 em And for the year, we'll set that to 5 EM. Now they appear side by side. I'll go to my web page on the right and refresh. My autofill for the form values kind of gets in the way a little bit, but I will type in valid values for each of the text boxes, and I'll select different items from the drop-down lists. And as long as I've entered valid information, it should submit and display my information on that other web page that I added. I won't be using a valid credit card number, but I'll enter 16 digits. Set the expiration date, and when I click submit, I should see all that information on that register account page. And I can either refresh or reset the fields to clear the form and test other validation. Then I will close the style sheet and close the form.